10th, 2024. This is a work session of the Portland City Council. This is a work session on the subject of election preparedness. This is an opportunity for us to regroup several weeks later and talk a little bit about what strategies we put into place and what we did. It was sort of my hope that the new incoming counselors could also participate in this work session and hear about our preparations, because obviously we'll have to use this template plus whatever learning we have gained going forward. Unfortunately, they have an onboarding session that was scheduled exactly at the same time. And so what we will do is send them a link from this work session, and then hopefully you're all available for questions if they have any follow-up questions that they'd like to pose towards our subject matter experts. With that brief introduction, I'll turn this over to you, Stephanie. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Stephanie Howard. I am Mayor Wheeler's Director of Community Safety. I'm here today with several leaders from our election preparedness efforts. We've got Director Shad Ahmed from PBEM. We've got Assistant Chief Craig Dobson from PPB. We have our Public Information Office Manager, Mike Benner from PPB. We have Chief Ryan Gillespie here, as well as Director Kazi. I think I saw it somewhere. But we're happy to be with you today and happy to be able to go through this information with you. What we wanted to be sure we shared with you today was just sort of an overview of how we prepared for the events around election week, how we operated during the period of activation during election week, how we communicated with the public and with other stakeholders in the environment throughout, both before, during, and in the future, and again, how we intend to move forward based on what we've learned through this experience. So with that, I will hand it over to Director Ahmed.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yes, the first thing we wanted to highlight for you all today is this effort it began several months ago, and we really pulled in a lot of partners all across the board. And so you'll see on the slide here that we not only had city agencies, we had several regional partners, special districts. We had 3 counties, including our own neighboring counties as well. We had several state agencies and a whole host of federal partners as well. So this was truly a whole of city, whole of community, whole of government approach that we took for preparedness and response actions. Among these partners, we had tremendous positive feedback coming from, a perspective of we had a formerly siloed form of government, and we're building something very different, very unique. The positive impact from our partners, what they felt was shared with us. So it was extremely beneficial for a coordination, from a coordination perspective and point of view. Some of the feedback we heard was we did a tabletop exercise, and we heard that was one of the first times that our partners, federal, state, and others, felt really connected to what the city was doing in a different way that felt good for them. So really a tremendous effort by a lot of our partners working together. On the next,
if I could also just jump in here, because I really want to applaud you, first of all, for bringing, you were the convener, at least the central focal point. I want to acknowledge that and thank you for your leadership. I know you're too modest to say that. And I also want to thank my colleagues up here. I know their staffs were very, very involved, personally rolling up their sleeves to help all of the bureaus in particular. And I know, for example, that on Commissioner Gonzalez's team, Shaw Smith, Harrison Cass, and Nick Coffey were very involved in working with PBEM. I know other commissioners' staffs were also involved. And Stephanie, I know you've been up to your eyeballs in this previously, as well as other members of the mayor's team. And I just want to underscore, so I don't forget at the end, this really was a team effort. This was the people from the city, from all bureaus, from all perspectives, coming together to really make this work. And I want to thank you for being the focal point and, frankly, my contact. So if things weren't going exactly the way I wanted, you were the one who reaped the grief, but the result was fantastic. And I want to acknowledge you publicly for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, next slide will go over just kind of a little bit of what we did along the way with all of these partners. We had and still have multiple weekly meetings with stakeholders along the way. We have internal stakeholders with the city, we have external stakeholders, and we're kind of doing that by focus area. So there's several meetings that took place prior to and then are still on the schedule for now, for the time being anyways, at least through January. We have, obviously, as you talked about, Mayor, we had a unified citywide approach and response plan, and I want to acknowledge all the support from city leadership, the city bureaus, really coming together, especially within public safety, police, fire, and BOIC, really helped us navigate that to do something very different. And under the city administrator's leadership, we really had a solid plan ready to go for the day of. So that was tremendous. We had our Emergency Operations Center activated, our facility, due to the unique circumstances that there needed to be some compartmentalized spaces for law enforcement specific work. We had that full facility in use with the separate spaces for law enforcement and intelligence work. We also had our city bureaus in the largest part of the EOC really coordinating with all of those partners. So just kind of want to highlight that not only were those partners involved in the response up to or the preparedness up to, they were responsible for their parts as well during the day of within our Emergency Operations Center. So it was truly a response, not just preparedness, that was unified across the region. We have done a couple of tabletop exercises. PPB, of course, did some as well. From a tactical perspective, we did some from a larger coordination perspective as well. Positive feedback there as well from our federal state partners. And we also worked with businesses and community organizations a little bit more closely than we really ever have in the past. The fact that we were unified as a city allowed us to then communicate with those other stakeholders a better, in terms of what we were doing all along the way. So we worked with business communities. We had many open forums, as well as distributed information to community-based organizations as well. So it was really, something that we wanted to highlight as well. We also had a good recovery plan, should anything have happened, to be able to recover from a city perspective, to be able to be open for business per the mayor's direction immediately as soon as we can. So we had a plan for if there were damages or debris that we needed to manage. We also had that ready to go. Portland Solutions was a tremendous partner there, really did a lot of work in the preparation and the day of as well. And we are still in the midst of our after-action review report. We are still doing some interviews, and we hope to have that in the coming weeks to be able to solidify internally. And with that, I will turn it over to.
Good morning. So as Director Shad has discussed, there was a lots of outreach that was done collectively to our business organizations, our neighborhood associations, as well as advisory councils that we have within the Police Bureau, as well as the outreach within local and state and federal governments, and our own city attorney's office in preparation for this. Tactically, we knew that this was going to be largely on the Portland Police Bureau side of the house, and so prior to this year, we began to reconstitute our all hazards team, our rapid response team, as well as revitalize our liaison dialogue program, which we utilized during the event. We consistently monitored all of the intelligence and open source available to us, as well as worked with our partners to ensure that we had a good, best idea of what was happening. And then we canceled all of our days off to ensure that we had the staffing necessary in case something did happen. For the election itself, we utilized our dialogue officers on all of the events that we had. We continue to monitor intelligence, and we had not only ourselves, but OSP, our state police, were ready to deploy if it need be. And we were also able to pivot. So if you can go to the next slide, Stephanie. During the event, what we saw was we had roughly about 12 different public demonstrations that we had. All of them were very peaceful. We were able to integrate our dialogue officers with them and had no issues whatsoever. This allowed us to pivot all of our resources to focus on calls for service, community interactions, as well as we did have to intervene and thwart a street takeover. I think there was an assumption that we were going to be tied up doing other things, and so some folks showed up to do some nefarious things on the streets, and we were able to stop that. Because we pivoted, we were able to do over 1,900 contacts within the community, business contacts and walking beat type interdictions, as well as focus on some of our high crash corridor areas, and made over 500 stops in those areas to enforce traffic violations. By pivoting, we were able to over 20% reduce our calls response time by over 20% on all of our calls beyond just priority calls. Priority calls always are the first response that we have. The others wait until we are freed up. And because we had the resources, we were able to go into those and reduce the response time by 20% on those calls. And that's what I have for us. It was a great week. It was great to have all the officers out there and be able to participate and be really proactive at tackling what was normally on our call load. Next slide.
You stay there, Craig. I'll take my seat. Good morning, Mayor Wheeler, City Commissioners. My name is Ryan Gillespie, Fire Chief for Portland Fire and Rescue. The slide you see there has a couple photos. Those were from 2020. I'm happy to report we do not have any updated photos for election 2024. As with PBEM and PPB, significant PF&R resources were dedicated to managing the election planning and response. Our goal was to mitigate and respond to any fire, medical needs arising out of the elections as safely and appropriately as possible. Walking down this slide, Unified Command, we provided 2 deputy chiefs as unified commanders to support the IMT 24/7 during the event. These 2 worked with the team to set objectives and provide oversight related to any fire and medical issues. Fire medical operations, there's 4 branches under this section: tactical, fire medical, arson investigations and inspections, and we had hazmat on standby if needed. CERT and RT fire medics were embedded within their respective police units, as they were throughout the 2020 protests. For fire and medical, the Bureau maintained regular station operations throughout the planned event period. We upstaffed additional personnel dedicated to the elections and associated potential civil unrest. Had there been a large-scale fire or mass casualty incident, regular on-duty crews were prepared to be dispatched to augment the event fire and medical branches. Arson investigation and inspection resources were prepared to respond with our law enforcement partners to prioritize any felony crimes and civil disturbance-related fires for prosecution had they occurred. This branch was also prepared to coordinate any fire marshal needs to prioritize damaged businesses being able to reopen. With hazmat, the standby team was prepared to be immediately dispatched to identify suspected or confirmed materials and direct decontamination efforts. Our emergency manager served as a deputy planning section chief on the incident management team and acted as a liaison to the EOC. Our dispatch fire liaison at BOAC was upstaffed to run 24 hours a day. This is up from our regular 12-hour per day operation. This allowed for better coordination between Portland Fire and Rescue and BOAC dispatchers in case of increased activity in the overnight hours. With the JIC and general staffing adjustments, Portland Fire and Rescue was a key piece to ensure consistent messaging and information was shared across all channels, internally and externally. As already stated, our goal was and always is to mitigate and respond to needs as safely and appropriately as possible. At the same time, we ensured our available resources allowed us to continue to serve Portland in our regular capacity. We are grateful for the organization and preparation that was invested in keeping people safe, and I'm especially thankful to all of our members who were part of this response. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
First of all, Chief Gillespie was insistent that I sat here. I was not trying to upstage him, so I just wanted to put that on the record. I would be remiss if I didn't first of all start by thanking the four of you as well as Commissioner Maps for the support leading up to election week and election week itself. It meant a lot. And also thank you to all of you who are moving on to new endeavors. This is a tough job. So from a city employee and from a city resident, thank you for everything you've done, and we really appreciate it. That said, before I get into what we did in the JIC and during election week itself, I think we need to acknowledge what we did communications-wise leading up to that point, because I do believe it was just as critical, if not more critical, to the overall endeavor. And we started with what we called a month-long media blitz. So we took every week leading up to election week and provided some sort of media availability around some key issues and key points. And we started when Chief Day canceled days off for Bureau members. We thought it was important to communicate that to the community, let them know that we were prepared and ready and willing to do whatever it takes to respond to what we see election week. And that got great attention. Chief did one-on-one interviews with TV and Oregonian, and we got quite a bit of play out of that. The next week, of course, there's a lot of energy, still is, around the rapid response team and bringing back that squad. And we invited media out to our training division to see some classroom work, to see some field work, and to do some Q&A with AC Dobson, with Franz Schoening, and a couple of the members of the RRT. And that's really just pulling back the curtain and giving people a look at who's on this team. They're good people, they're good humans, good public servants, and we wanted to show that. The next week we did a podcast, again, starring AC Dobson and Franz Schoening, because we know as a communication staff that people consume their news differently. And so if you're not watching TV, if you're not reading the newspaper, maybe you're listening to podcasts. And that was just a great podcast to listen to. I implore you to do so if you haven't. AC Dobson is great, has great knowledge. He travels the world talking about public order, and that was kind of what this podcast was about, is showing that we have people inside our own bureau who are just incredibly wise. And lastly, I guess I should say that about a week and a half out, I intended with our commander and with Intel a big meeting in downtown Portland over the lunch hour involving a number of our downtown business owners. There's a couple hundred people in the room. They obviously had a lot of anxiety leading into election week, and so it was important for us to stand up in front of them and speak about what we're doing as a bureau, and I think they really appreciated that. And then lastly, as far the last part of our month-long media blitz was the big news conference that we had a few days out. The mayor was there, commissioners were there. Thank you again for that support. And again, it was just establishing to the community that we're ready, and we will handle this the way it needs to be handled when the time comes. And that brings me to election week itself. We obviously stood up a joint information center, also known as a JIC. We were in person. We were virtual as well. And I can't thank enough the people who were part of that JIC. It wasn't just PPB, it was PBAM. It was the Public Safety Service area folks. It was fire as well. They were a huge support. OSP, other sheriff's offices. I mean, people came together in this public information world to really support our messaging, and we really appreciate that. The point of the JIC was to disseminate information timely, make sure it's accurate, and I think we did that. Fortunately, we didn't have major issues, right? But we were in lockstep with command and messaging out, whether it be social media or official news releases. And I think it's important to note as well that it wasn't just external messaging. There's a major internal component as well. We thought it was important to make sure our employees here in the city were aware of what was going on when it was appropriate. With that, I am just incredibly pleased with how it went. We know we have some potentially tough days ahead of us. That's why we did a hot wash after the JIC. We've learned some lessons, and we'll be stronger down the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The kind of final piece of this unified command was what is called the Executive Policy Group, and that was comprised of City Administrator Michael Jordan, Chief Day, as well as Deputy Chief Jovic from PPB. We had Chief Gillespie there. Director Ahmed was there. I represented the mayor's office in that group, and we were also supported by City Attorney's Office as legal advice, and DCA Mike Myers, who I also failed to mention is with us online today as well. That executive policy group met twice a day, often in person. The goal there being to provide support to the unified command and to help provide policy direction with regard to the efforts that were taking place and whether there were any decision points to be sure that we were ready to provide them with quick answers in the moment as they needed them. I think it bears noting that, moving forward, our intention, I think, as a service area and frankly as a city is to continue this great momentum in coordination and really unifying efforts around big events like this. I think, as has been mentioned, but I want to mention again, there were so many people, both city employees and external partners, who supported this effort and really stepped out of their normal roles into some roles that were uncomfortable and were new to them, and really the amazing effort that they all showed is just, I think, evident in how this group was able to show up, how the city was able to show up throughout this process, and to support the community in the best way that we can. One last thing I'll say is, as Mike alluded to, we know that we will have many other opportunities going forward to exercise this and really test this muscle memory that we're trying to build. And so, we have plans for how to reactivate quickly. I think the conversations are ongoing about how that can happen, how we can learn, take our learnings from this and improve and refine the process going forward. But overall, it was really just for me, an impressive showing of the really good people who work for the city and care about the city and want to see it successful. And I'll close before we go to questions and answers with just an underscore of what Mike also said, which is thank you. This council has done a tremendous amount of work to support this effort for the last, couple of years. You have recognized the importance of making sure that all of our teams have the tools that they need, that they had the support that they needed. And I think all of you have really done a tremendous job of demonstrating that support in a multitude of ways. So we all are extremely grateful for the work that you did to help make us really prepared and I think, establish a system that's going to serve the city well for quite some time. And with that, we'll open it up to all of you for any questions that we can answer.
Stephanie, before I jump over to Commissioner Gonzalez, I would be remiss if I did not thank all of the city employees who had their vacation days canceled. And I know this happened in multiple bureaus. It certainly happened in the police bureau. Basically, everybody got called back. And I want to acknowledge that while they are police officers, they are also husbands and fathers and members of other families. And a lot of them did have vacation actually planned. And they had to cancel those plans and change those plans. And they did it so that they could help make this model successful. And I just want to make sure we call that out specifically. I also want to thank you, Stephanie. You like Shad, are a little bit too modest when you're talking about the work that you've been doing. You were extremely helpful to me, and I want to thank you for your leadership personally as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you,
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you all for the comprehensive report. As you may know, I oversaw PBEM through July 1, and my team was pretty intimately involved in the early plannings, not so much the latter plannings, but the early plannings for this all, and great that it went off without really a hitch. I want to hone in on a couple of specific areas. If we go back to the independent monitor review of police's response to 2020, the number one issue they highlighted, and they have, I think, about 12 specific call outs, but was the reestablishment of the mutual aid network. And our team was involved in some of the early discussions about that reestablishment. When we looked at it, we agreed with independent monitoring response. The mutual aid network was completely frayed, low confidence in combination of city leadership as well as Multnomah County leadership at the time. And again, I'm speaking to the perceptions of some of our partners from 2020. That's not a reflection on the people up here, but just the noise we were hearing that if you send police officers into the city of Portland, they're not going to be treated fairly. Real concerns about liability and exposure. We were not starting from a good place, to be blunt, from 2020. It certainly feels like we made substantial progress, even if we're not quite where we want to be. So if you were to give an early preview of assessment on what occurred on election night, who was there to help us? And next time around, who would we hope would be there that wasn't there on election night?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. I think we are working through that. I think, as you pointed out, things were frayed in 2020, and slowly as we rebuild, we're looking at how do we rebuild that. I think in the perfect world, all of our partners within the Tri-County area would be willing to come in and do public order. At this point, they're willing to come in and offset us so that we can put our personnel into those positions and be able to do it. But in a perfect world, we would like to be able to have those partnerships where we're comfortable reciprocating and working together in public order in itself.
And so for those who might be listening at home, could you maybe give more tangible examples of what offset means in that example? So
Sure.
Washington County Sheriff, Lake Oswego Police, City of Gresham Police, what does offset look like?
Sure. So currently, we have our outside partners have offered to give us personnel to be able to backfill for our officers so that they can take calls for service for us to allow our people to be freed up to be able to respond to public order.
Got it. And was that envisioned primarily on kind of the east and west portions of the city, or was that sort of citywide?
Ideally, it would be citywide, but currently it would be our edges, the east and the west parts of the city.
Got it. And you mentioned that you saw about a 20% reduction in response times across the board during that period. I think that was the number you quoted. Right. That was for high priority calls. Did you also see a corresponding decline in response times? I just want to make sure I followed the stats.
No, those remained almost the same because, okay, again, those are priority. Those are the number one priority, so we always send people first to those. And so those remain largely the same.
Got it. And then in terms of your communication strategy on the proactive side, there's unified command and communication out during the incident, but I was really intrigued by your description of the proactive communications leading into that. Would it be fair to say some of your goals were, one, deter behaviors, two, confidence in elections and confidence that commerce can continue in the city of Portland? Or how would you describe what the intent with those communications were?
I think both of those points are accurate. I think the bigger one is probably deter. And it was really, the messaging was to show the community and everyone else watching that we're prepared, we're professional, we're not asleep at the wheel, and we're ready to go should something happen. And fortunately, fortunately it didn't. I look back, I think that pre-election week news conference that you were at, the mayor, all our partners, I think that was eerily similar to a similar one we had at the PSU event, and then also one that we had before a street takeover event that we were aware was coming to town, the West Coast Invitational. And I think we were wildly successful that weekend with that invitational. It's because we showed that camaraderie and partnership ahead of time, and I think that went a long way in deterrence. So I think everything you said was accurate, but I think that pre-messaging was more a deterrent and also just letting the community know we're prepared and ready.
One of the other critiques from the independent monitor's response to 2020, and I'm focused on 2020s and the independent monitor because it's a thoughtful piece that went deep in a really unique time. I probably share with Mayor Wheeler at some level that there's a point in our city's history where we need to stop talking about 2020 and start talking about the future for a whole host of reasons. But it still is a fantastic source of, analysis of Portland police response. And that's why I'm focusing on it a little bit. One of the critiques of Portland police at the time was not such a great communication as to what crowd controls we would use when and what the reason for the policy, right? That we're greater transparency as to what we do and when we do it. Was there an element of the communication in the month leading into focused on that, or do you think that really needs to be delivered in a separate forum as opposed to leading into, a high risk window?
That's a good question. I am not necessarily, in all honesty, prepared to answer that. We can get back to you. As you know, I mean, I was in a different role in 2020. I wasn't sitting in this chair in 2020, but I think it was in the back of our head, the messaging regarding munitions and things of that nature. And we did get questions from media in the weeks leading up to election week. It was probably 6 months out, 7 months out, there were reporters asking about what we were purchasing, what the city was purchasing, that sort of thing. And we responded to those in a timely manner. But when we got to the moment, that wasn't necessarily a huge factor.
Well, and I'm not sure that honestly the independent monitor was saying in the moments leading up to a high risk environment that's when you need to be communicating. I think that's the ongoing work of government articulating our policies, the why behind it, and then making sure we're training against it. So I didn't necessarily expect that it would be done in the month before. I just wanted to call that out.
And I should say, too, we were prepared to should the situation have called for a response of that magnitude, we were ready to message out what we were using, why we were using it. We just didn't have to.
Got it.
And I could just, I'm sorry, Commissioner, I could just add one thing though, because the type of communication that you're talking about so that the community understood, for example, what the rapid response team does and what that looks like. PPB did have a lot, they had a lot of community engagement early on when the rapid response team was being reassembled, including a press conference that included a demonstration of their equipment, a demonstration of, had some of the officers there. And I think that was all in an attempt to help work towards that exact point in the IMLLC report, but just to try to communicate with people and really be transparent about what this team does and what they're asked to do and what their equipment looks like and things like that.
Got it. Thank you very much on that. I'm going to hone in on the planning really at the incident command level now. One of the other takeaways from and I'm going to get granular inside of police and then go up a level for PBEM, police, and other bureaus. But one of the other independent monitor conclusions was that, we really need to build Portland Police's bench in terms of incident commanders. And I know we've had at least one retirement in that area. How are you, and I say all of this with the caveat that 2020 was unprecedented in terms of the length of the civil unrest, right? I mean, there was an argument in that independent monitor report that it's unprecedented in modern American history to have a police department having to have an incident command post up every night for that length of period. I don't know of any police department in the country had sufficient bench for the scenario that Portland Police was facing in 2020. So hopefully in our lifetimes, we'll never see that again. I knock on wood, just in terms of the length of the demand. But how would you assess currently bench strength there relative to 2020, relative to 2 years ago?
So we are better, but we're still improving. We've been working on it for about a year and a half plus on building out that strength. I was one of those incident commanders. Now that I'm an assistant chief, I'm taken out of that pool, and so having to fill that pool again with other people and give them the experience that we need is continuing. And we're hoping as we look toward this coming year that we'll be able to take some of the new folks that we're promoting and be able to get them the specialized training that they need so that they can also fill those roles.
And what does the training involve?
So there's a whole bunch of training to put it. There's ICS training, so the incident command system itself. There's a system of trainings that you are required to go. So different positions require different training. All of those are at least 40 hours long. And then for crowd management itself or public order is another at least 40 hours worth of training that you get in addition to that to talk about exactly how to tactically utilize your resources.
So I guess the next question then is for Director Ahmed. How would you assess our instant command bench citywide and outside of Portland Police?
Yeah, I think similar to what Chief Dobson said, I think we're better than where we were, but we still have a long way to go to improve. We are, all the bureaus obviously are struggling with staffing in general, and I think that's something, a theme that we're seeing. We just need to be a little bit more creative as a city to try to figure out how we're going to build that bench. Having an incident management team is a lot more than just an incident commander position, of course, and so there are other specialized positions. And like Chief Dobson said, there is training that we can send folks to for that. The challenge we always encounter is when we take someone out of their normal roles to fill these roles, we have to find a way to achieve their regular business. And so it's something we're still kind of tackling.
How would you assess inside of PBEM specifically right now, your current capability and where are your gaps in that area?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, it's no secret, it's been a little tough with the way the budget situation has been citywide, and so PBEM is no different. We felt that in the last cycle, looking at it again potentially this year. So it's not something that we can maintain an in-house capability. I think we need to be looking at citywide in order to build that bench. There's also the management of the program itself, which requires resources, and that's something generally that is an emergency management function, doesn't really, live outside. We can't outsource that to other bureaus, and so that's something that we'll have to take a hard look at this year to see if we can continue to build.
Okay. One last question with respect to incident command, then I will have one probably for BOAC, but the interplay between PBEM and Portland Police in the planning stage and then on the night of election night, it's fair to say police should have tactical command. I mean that's and the planning reflects that. How maybe can you just describe how would you describe how you work together from a planning perspective? And then on the night of, mostly for public's benefit.
Sure. So as we went to a unified command model, which means that you have multiple incident commanders or multiple people from different bureaus in charge, that requires you to have each of those individuals come together and work out objectives together. Largely, as you pointed out, much of those are police bureau-esque. Because of the tactical nature of what we were anticipating. But they include citywide. We're looking at citywide direction as we plan for that. So recovery after an event might occur, what does that recovery look like? What resources do we need for fire? And so as we brought PBAM, fire, and police together, they sat down and worked through those objectives. Because we had not done it in this fashion before, it was a little clunky. Like anything, when you start and bring a new team together and work together, it was a little clunky, but it worked, and there was lots of learning points that we came away from that, I think, as collectively we came away from. So as we move forward, how do we do it better? And so they build those objectives, and then we source resources based on the objectives, so what we believe, what we needed. The challenge to this event was going into it, we were uncertain we had no intelligence to indicate that we had anything coming for certain, which makes it more difficult to plan what does that resource staffing need to be. And then your second question was?
Really on the night of, right? So there's the planning component and then, just high level walking through the chain of command on the night of the election. How does that work? Who reports to who? And if any lessons learned from that?
So ultimately, for the night of, police incident commander was in charge of the tactical response, but is working in partnership with the other two incident commanders. So fire and PBAM are there as well. and are plugged in and communicating across the board laterally with each other to ensure that we're all on the same page, to ensure that whatever the response is, we've got the right resources going to it, and then if there's cleanup or recovery after that, we can deal with that as well.
Got it. And it's something I should have asked earlier, the interplay with PBOT in all of this. I know in 2020 there were some challenges. Who is responsible for interacting with PBOT on the night of and on the planning level?
So I can talk a little bit about it. And just adding on, I think I would agree with what Chief Dobson said. It's a learning point for all of us, and all of our city bureaus, PBOT included, were participating in this process. And really the true benefit of the collaboration and doing it with the unified command approach is we think of it kind of as like wraparound support services for whatever the primary, focal point is. So in this case, law enforcement, obviously tactics were, as Chief Dobson mentioned, PPB, Incident Commander, was managing that, while the other parts of Unified Command were really providing those links to the wraparound services. So we had PBOT, Portland Solutions, the BES, we had other bureaus actually sitting in that room with us. And so I should say not as, but if something were to have happened, our team would then work with, while PPB was mitigating the tactical issues in front of them, we would be providing support for whatever was needed. We had great partnership from PBOT, specifically from Portland Solutions, from those other bureaus, to be ready, standing ready to provide that. We had no issues that we would have foreseen if we needed to activate any of those pieces.
Got it. And then I just had one general area of questions for BOAC. I don't know, and I can just preview it, just understanding BOAC's involvement in the planning, and then what were the specific tactical tools deployed on the night of from BOAC's perspective.
Good morning. I'm Bob Causey, Director of BOAC, and thank you for that question, Commissioner. BOAC was part of the preparation. We planned having dedicated tactical dispatchers in both the police pod and the fire pod. And thankfully, we had scheduled originally virtually every hour of the day for 5 days. And we were able to cancel quite a bit of that later in the week. As far as other preparation, our normal call volume, we anticipated. We were preparing for potential protests, riots, and calls related to that, but none of that materialized. And because we had adequate staffing, as well as the additional dispatchers, really our call volume and call answering times were good.
Got it. And this is mostly for people listening at home. BOAC oversees our 911 system countywide. When you refer to tactical dispatcher, so you're literally, this is someone sitting in the police section of the 911 call center who is designated to handle everything related to the potential civil unrest.
Exactly. We had one for fire and one for police dedicated only for this particular event.
Got it. And is that on both, that's on the dispatcher side, so calls would still come in as they usually would, and then it goes to a tactical or specified dispatcher?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ryan.
Sure.
First of all, thank you, Mayor. I know that I was kind of hounding you about the importance of having this debrief, and this is exactly why. First of all, we did that magical thing where you prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And in my 4 years of the city, I've never seen such a good example of that. And in a city that needs to continue to improve its practices, I thought it was really important for us to have this conversation. So please just see it as a conversation. My colleague, Commissioner Gonzalez, I don't know what question could be asked after that. Thank you. You covered a lot of ground. I appreciate it. So I wanted to lift a couple things. First, I just want to acknowledge you, Director Ahmad. We got to know each other, I think, because everyone was gone. It was like after it was an election and people were coming and going, and I was it. And there was snow and ice, so that's how I met you. And we had some conversations about your vision. And so I want to acknowledge that what I recall from that conversation, and usually can remember the big nuggets of vision,
they were really played out in what I'm hearing about today. So I'm glad you're part of the team and that your inclusiveness and your systemic way of thinking is being incorporated. And so today it doesn't feel like we're just having a conversation with police, which is wonderful to have conversations with police, but we know it's a part of the system of public safety. And then the obvious of, 2020 does get mentioned because things have changed a lot since then. The fact that we couldn't get partners to partner with us on such basic public safety issues is a chapter that one will need to continue to write about with the great complexity that was that moment. But I think that people's anxiety that was mentioned earlier was real because everyone had a lot of people had PTSD about that period. So of course we needed to prepare for the worst. It was really sad in some ways, and yet I respected why you saw a lot of boarded up windows, but that I think added to some of the anxiety. Your communication plan was brilliant. I didn't know all the details of it, so thank you, Mike. That was really helpful to listen to. I did get your name right? Okay. And I remember being at that press conference and how I could just feel like this is smart. Remind me of one, maybe even before 2020, it was well before that. I think you were here, Mayor, where we were having the fisticuffs between the extremes that would use our downtown as the ring for their little moments. And it was just great to have all the community come together, communities of color leadership come together to say, no, we're done. Like, stop doing this in our beautiful city. And I think that is the vast majority of Portlanders and those who love this city. So I think it's like we have self-esteem again, to know that we're worthy and that we can work together to do basic, pragmatic, common sense safety procedures and implement them for the good of the public. And so I'm going to then not think about the questions I have because they were asked, but vision a little bit forward and also talk about that staffing model. And the reason why I bring up staffing models because a stranger, I know their face, but I see them at the gym, acknowledged that they had to place a call and it wasn't probably your priority calls. But they mentioned that they were shocked how quickly the call got picked up by 911 and how quickly the officer showed up. They had a burglary. And they were surprised. They almost didn't call because of all the reports they've been reading over the years, and they were just alarmed at how quick everything happened. So, what I assumed was because you were staffed up, and thank you again to those of you that were adaptable enough to move vacations around and such for the good of the order as public servants. They wanted me to hear that. So is it that we just had more police all of a sudden? Like, what was going on? And I said as much as I could say, which was, well, I know that we promoted everyone all in that week. And so we had probably more of a normal staffing model or what you would want for everyday activity to keep our community safe. But can you speak to that a little bit? Because the reason being is because we're going to have a really tough budget session coming up, and Portlanders got a taste of what it's like maybe to be fully staffed, but this is me not having enough details. So could you speak to what that was like, and have you been here long enough to remember a time when it was staffed like that? I don't know.
So yes and yes.
Okay.
I've going on 27 years. When I was hired, there were roughly 1,100 of us, and our staffing on a daily shift, so day shift at Central Precinct would be roughly 20 people that we would have available on a regular. That's our minimum. Would have been our minimums. During this event, our staffing, we were roughly able to put another 100 officers out on the street to be able to take calls across the 3 precincts. That would be about 30 extra officers across the board, which allowed us on a typical afternoon, we see anywhere from 30 to 60 calls holding. During that week of elections, we had calls usually under 10 calls holding at any one time because we were able to respond to them effectively and efficiently in that manner. And so it was reminiscent of when I was first hired or in the first few years that I was here, where we were able to actually have enough people out there to be able to not only take the calls, but have additional officers able to interact with the public and make those community contacts, which I think are just as important. Being able to go out and reach out outside of a call to meet the public and interact with them in a positive manner.
And they mentioned that. They said it also didn't feel rushed, that they actually took time when they made the call. So I appreciate listening to that. I hope that as we prepare for budget season coming up, that we use this as a case study, would be my recommendation on from 911 through all of your whole system. Fire was up here on how the coordination was at a different level that week, not just because, we didn't have the incidents that we were hoping not to have, but it allowed us to experience what it's like to have a response for an average day in the city of Portland. Does that make sense? And so I hope all of you lean into that and use this as a case study because it's fresh on everyone's minds. And I do think that many in the public, if I heard this from a couple people, probably were noticing and there were positive murmurs out there. So I wanted to make sure we lifted up that this was perhaps a case study and what staffing models could look like. You kind of hinted at it, and I think Commissioner Gonzalez's questions got at that. But when you mentioned, Mike, earlier, the lessons learned, did we get all those out? I love hearing about how you can always improve. That's just how we're all wired to do continuous improvement work.
Yeah, we did a pretty in-depth hot wash in the weeks following, and that report is still being finalized. But a few things, hot wash, technical term.
Yeah, got it.
PBEM uses it. Through our partnership, I learned some new terms, so that was good. But yes, we're still waiting for the final report. But a few things that I took away from it. We talk about partnership. We cast a wide net. This was my first go at a JIC, just being with the Bureau now a little over a year. And like I said, we cast a wide net and we got a big response. Us, Fire, PBEM, Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, FBI, OSP, and then we had other folks virtual. It almost felt at times that we had too many people to run efficiently, although we found a way. So I think it is honing in on the right number of people. Also, maybe staffing it a little different in different times, if we can manage to do that. We just, going into this one, we didn't know what if they were going to take to the streets and how long they would be there. So we just kind of had an all hands on deck situation. So I think that was a big deal. I mentioned the internal
staff differently
throughout different hours. We basically staffed from 4 p.m. till 4 a.m. But perhaps we could, if we see that it needs to extend, we can extend. And we were ready to pivot if need be. But I think just looking at the staffing model of the JIC, that might be a little different. Also, we talked about the internal messaging component and how messaging out to our own city employees became a big deal for us. And so instead of having a citywide PIO virtually, I think we'd want that person in-house with us physically in the space. I think that was an important takeaway. So those were like the major ones. I think for me personally, again, my first go at a JIC, and I tend to, as AC Dobson can probably confirm, I tend to be a little
JIC, that's Joint
Information Center. I tend to be a little bit of a busybody and want to be everywhere at once. And I think for me personally, learning that, the JIC had a liaison inside Incident Command, but then I found myself running sometimes between the JIC and the IC when I didn't necessarily need to do that. So just personal things. But overall, I'm really pleased with how it went.
What's the JIC and then IC? What's IC?
Incident Command. So basically where they were on the other side of the room or other side of the building. And then we were in like a computer lab so that we could be all dialed in and whatnot.
No, I've been there enough, but I don't tend to hold on to jargon very well. But that's okay. And there might be a couple of people watching, so that's translation as well. Yeah, that is fascinating, that interaction. I can only imagine how exciting that was.
It was fun.
Yeah. So in terms of, there were two takeaways that that I wanted to leave with, and one I think I got out to all of you as you prepare for budget season. The other is that we have some other incidents coming, or we could assume that during, say, the inaugural ceremony week would be another time. So what will we expect as we prepare for that? Will we expect something similar? And now that you've heard it, all these cats again, and every taxpayer in the state of Oregon should be thrilled that we've gotten to this place, and they want to see that improve. So is that an example of another time where you'd be preparing? You're probably already preparing. Tell me a little bit more.
So we are preparing for what's coming for January. Again, based on intelligence, we have nothing to go off of right now, but we are preparing, and we'll have a cursory outline of what that looks like. And as we get closer, we'll probably dial that in. We've already anticipated that it might be an issue, so we've preemptively canceled days off for the police bureau to ensure that we've got resources if we need them. But we will be starting that planning process again, where we go through and work with all of our partners to ensure that we have. I would like to highlight the difference between 2020 and what happened here for the election was having all of the city bureaus working together was awesome. Having everybody on board and all working together in the same direction made a huge difference. Not only was the messaging super important, which we talked about, but having the entire city working together on the problem made a huge difference. And that is the model that we have to stay with and can't shy away from ever again.
Good. That's the model that everyone wants.
And I think, Commissioner, you kind of alluded to this when you said future incidents. This is something that we're hoping is the model for not just what's in January, but we're going to continue building. And kind of like what Mike mentioned about the after action process and the hot wash, and what we're doing right now is the key difference is each time we're going to get better and better. We're going to keep improving the connectivity between the bureaus and our external partners, as well as the process and how we refine that.
Well, we're experiencing some culture evolution. It's a positive thing, and practice improvement here. And so no matter who's in these positions, it's really wonderful to know that you're all going to be here and that you're improving the way that you're doing this systemic work and this approach. So that's good to hear. It's a lot easier to herd everybody if they've experienced that before, and you're building trust, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
What do you need from the electeds going forward in 2025 around this? Like give us some feedback. I know, I think I wanted to make sure I showed up at the last minute when I heard about the presser that you did, which was really well done. And I do believe it was great to be there. There were other electeds from other bodies that maybe there'd been some public tension about, but it didn't matter. What mattered is that we were aligned on something this important. And I think the public needs to constantly see that. We may have some difference of opinions, that's called life, on other issues, but when it comes to some basic public safety occurrences, it's so important for all of us to show up for the common good of the people.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I actually highlighted that at the end of that news conference. I thought it was quite impressive that there were people in the room who, as recently as that week, were disagreeing in the public sphere about things, but they came together in that space. And I was just really impressed by when you zoom out a camera and you still can't get the whole crowd in the image. I mean, that says a lot. And so as far as what you can expect from us moving forward and what we hope to get from the new council is that that support, that partnership. So we will be having another news conference, leading into inauguration, and there's going to be some new faces there, whether it's the council, whether it's the DA. We're going to have new partners, and so all we can ask is for the support, that same level of support that we got from you, because as I mentioned out of the gate, I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you, because you guys were tremendous support. You were there when we needed you. Whether you spoke, whether you just stood there in support and partnership, it meant a lot. And I think it meant a lot to the community to see that, and went a long way.
Thank you.
And I would just add as another potential answer here, I think this council and going into the new form of government and the new council, you guys are going to be in a really tough position with the economic outlook for the city, and it's really tough for PBEM. We're going to have to make some hard decisions as well. I think all I would ask for from council and the new council coming in is just that we keep a dialogue going. We keep open conversation, whether it's in forums like this, in committees, in the new structure, whatever that looks like. We really sincerely appreciate the opportunity to be here today before you to just talk like this and have a conversation about what we're going through.
That's good. I want to loop back to one more conversation you had with the business interest, and they you mentioned their anxiety. We saw that some of them resorted to being very proactive in making sure that their windows were boarded up. Have you had a chance to loop back to them since the election?
I think we've had a couple of conversations with the groups, and we're going to continue engaging into the next month with those groups. Commissioner, I think some of those were, our message was pretty clear. We were confident in our response and our resources and the plans that we had in place. Of course, the anxiety was there, and we're not going to prevent people from, taking those measures. I think hopefully they see the experience that they had this past, month, and then will carry forward, and they won't feel as much as the anxiety that they did in the past. Proof in the concept is now reality, and so we're hoping that they will, feel more confident in the city's responses going forward.
Yeah, I have zero shame for what they did to protect themselves. I just hope that when you meet with them in maybe early January, could you also include some electeds in those meetings so we can be there to listen? We have a really high lease rate, the highest probably in the country in our downtown at the moment, which is hard to even imagine when you think of Portland just 10 years ago. And reputation is what matters. And so if we could start to turn people's opinions and their behaviors going forward, that will really help with the word of mouth to get more people to come back and open up businesses downtown. So I hope that we have a very strategic comms plan with that specific group, as we all know people personally that have lost their businesses over the last 4 to 5 years. And most that I know in the small business category have been because of the extra money they've been spending to keep secure, and their insurance costs just making it so it couldn't pencil out. And it's exciting to think that that must turn. And so I think using this as another case study comms opportunity to help build some more confidence back in our business community, and that would be really helpful. And I'm just thinking out loud with you again. I want to acknowledge Director Causey, because I assume that the calls were picked up at a much rapid rate, because your employees also did some extra overtime. Thank you. And also to fire. But I guess that will conclude. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm glad we had a little bit of dialogue on how we can use this to keep building the momentum, as Stephanie had mentioned earlier. Thanks.
Great. Let me go ahead and jump in here. First of all, thank you, Commissioner Ryan, for suggesting this work session. I think this has been very informative, and it's good to get this on the record. And as I said personally before, I'll make sure that the incoming counselors have a link to this work session. I know that they're busy doing some onboarding right now, but we'll make sure that they have the opportunity to hear it. I have a couple of just random thoughts, and maybe they're just parting departure thoughts. Number one, this is the best organized we've ever been enterprise-wide. And I'm going to be a little bit blunt. Some of you you mentioned it, but maybe not underscored it. The commission form of government held us back in previous efforts to organize. And in fact, we had commissioners openly disagreeing about what role different bureaus should play in an emergency response. And that was absolutely problematic for us. Now that we have this new form of government, we frankly have been on it for the last 6 months, it's much easier to get all of the bureaus on the same page at the same time, particularly with response to something that's this important to the community. So I see this as actually one of the good things about the new form of government, is we won't have those problems with bureaus opting out or not participating or not being willing to work with us on a policing related matter. Second of all, This is really a call out to journalists in our community who are ambitious. There is a Pulitzer Prize waiting for somebody to do an in-depth study of the riots in Portland in 2020 that is not superficial and that is not self-serving. And I have not heard that narrative yet, but it is out there. And there's some nuances here that are worth mentioning. First of all, we had riots in Portland, as Commissioner Ryan indicated, in 2017, in 2018, and 2019, well before George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis. We had, as he said, the radical left and the radical right overtly seeking out Portland, Oregon as their battleground and agreeing online through social media to get together and battle each other on our streets. And I thought the police bureau and other bureaus that cooperated and worked with the police bureau did an outstanding job. And I watched numerous operations from the incident command perspective, and I was very impressed. I was impressed with their restraint. I was impressed with their ability to work with people who maybe weren't completely committed to what was going on. And I was impressed with their ability to hold people accountable when people needed to be held accountable. So what changed in 2020? What changed in 2020, which made this dynamic so much more complicated, is that it was no longer the left versus the right. It was actually a protest against the police themselves, the very people who are responsible for maintaining public order and public safety were the subject of the protest, and in some cases, some very violent protests. That made their role triply hard, because then they had to figure out, do we intervene? Do we hold back? What do we do? And I watched the police bureau in 2020 try multiple different strategies, from what I would call significant intervention in kettling strategies. One received applause from the public in the Pearl District. The other received substantial blowback and frustration, particularly from the media, since there were many members of the media who happened to be caught up in that kettling situation previously. I also saw them not show up when they felt that their presence would create more of a flashpoint than it was worth. There were people who would criticize them for that. And then I even watched one demonstration where they went and they invited people to sit down with them and talk. So I saw literally an entire spectrum of responses, but the results were the same. So we can sit here all day long talking about policing and personnel and organizational structures and how many police officers we have. That is the solution, that is the Band-Aid, but the problem lies somewhere else. And the problem is people who show up to engage in acts of criminal destruction and violence. Something strange happened on election night that frankly nobody anticipated. Nobody showed up. Not here and not in any city in America. Something has changed in our culture, in our outlook, in the way that people view, at least in the near term, dissent. Something fundamentally shifted. What is it? I don't know. That's why I need a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist to do some research. I think the moment maybe has changed and people are focused on other types of things, and we're no longer in the COVID shutdown, and a lot of other things are happening as well. I also don't want us to be too self-congratulatory. Shad, I think you did a brilliant job. The Police Bureau, Fire Bureau, BOAC, all of our bureaus that participated in this. You have the right formula. I'm convinced of it. And you worked hard to get there. And you took all these lessons into account and you're there. But we don't really know if it works yet because nobody showed up. The question I would ask is what would have happened if 500 angry people had shown up with the intent of engaging in acts of criminal destruction and violence? How would it have been different? We don't know yet, and hopefully we'll never have to find out. But I just want to again applaud all of you for your work, but 2020 really needs more investigation. We have not seen the full narrative on 2020. I certainly have not had my perspective heard on it, and I have many. And I applaud those of you who are on the front line doing this hard work day in and day out. I really mean that. These are my parting shots. I won't get a chance probably to say it again. I have so much respect for you, and I appreciate everything you've done for the community. And you've made a lot of personal sacrifices. All of our employees have, and I thank you. Commissioner Ryan, thank you for bringing us together today for this important discussion. I don't know, Commissioner Rubio, if you had anything else you wanted to ask or add.
I'll just say thank you. I think everything's been said, and I think this is a transformative moment, and it's a really strong foundation for the next council, the next government. So good luck, everybody. And thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gonzalez had a couple more thoughts.
I was going to echo some of what Mayor Wheeler got at just now, but last week I was at what's called the Rodell Institute, which is a national organization that it's a bipartisan organization that brings together half Democrats, half Republicans countrywide. You get to take a step back and reflect on democracy, read some of the canons of, Western political thought, and then apply it in what you face every day. And we got to explore the challenges to democracy where it's failed globally and why. And then take that back and reflect on, well, how's democracy doing in the United States? And it's a month after an election. Most of the Democrats in the room are sad with the outcome of the presidential election. Most of the Republicans in the room feel different. That certainly shapes part of the dialogue. But one of the questions they asked was, first of all, you start with what are the examples of where our democracy in the United States is threatened, and what are examples of where you feel some confidence? And I got to share on behalf of the city of Portland that in a presidential election where the vast majority of Portlanders were unhappy with the outcome, not all, but the vast majority, we didn't have to make a single arrest. There was not a single incident, material incident of civil disobedience on election night. I think that's a good story for our democracy. That's a good story for the city of Portland. And I got to tell that on a relatively small stage, but to electeds across the country, we had a good night. And I do think that, unpacking what occurred in 2020, unpacking what occurred in 2024, it does merit some deeper dives. I think you have all hit at some of the key components. I do believe that deterrence plays a role in communicating clear expectations about behaviors that cross the line. And a unified voice is important, and we delivered on that collectively as a community. I'm also hopeful that there's been a shift that Mayor Wheeler alluded to in Portland, maybe nationwide, that we've seen the excesses of 2020 and at least in our adult lifetime, hopefully we won't repeat those excesses, even if sometimes legitimate reasons were leading to many of the protests involved. And I would just leave that in that respect, some hope for all of us coming out of this experience, that we can bring things together, we can speak with a united political voice, and that has a positive impact on our community, and that we as a species can evolve and look at previous excesses and maybe help calm us down for the next time around, even if we don't like the outcomes, even if we're not happy with it. I do want to just echo a couple of other pieces, but I don't want to leave that political leadership and and being unified, where you have the DA, city leadership, and the combination of electeds and other leaders all in the room speaking with a single voice, and how essential it is. And I just hope we don't forget that going forward. I share with the mayor that the perspective of the new form of government, I think, offers some advantages here that the prior form just doesn't, it doesn't allow for to the extent. I worked very closely with Mayor Wheeler leading up to this time, but we saw some instances in 2020 where things weren't working among commissioners, and the city paid for that. I just want to echo the growth in PBEM under your leadership, Shad. I mean, we're building some muscles that we didn't have. I think we had strong incident command capabilities inside of police and fire that goes back many years, but the ability to do that at an enterprise level, yes, the new form of government helps that, but you also need the technical expertise and perspective. And, if we have a big fire, if we have a Cascadia event, if we have civil unrest, there's a tactical component where it is crystal clear who needs to be in charge. Sometimes it's going to be police, sometimes it's going to be fire. But we have all these other bureaus that in other parts of government that need to be coordinated and need to be working together. And that's just your team has really brought some strength there. So again, I applaud the work you've done there. Um, I don't want to overemphasize this point, but Mayor Wheeler's point about uh, the role of the press, really intellectual elites in our community to tell the story and convey both what happened in 2020. I would lump in political violence in general, including against electeds. I don't really feel that story has ever been effectively told, particularly by our local press, frankly, by the national press, in really deconstructing what is the cause of these things, what are the solutions, and just circling back to, how does our democracy succeed locally and nationally, providing for First Amendment, protecting the First Amendment while simultaneously protecting society from the excesses of civil disobedience is, that's a profound question that we continue to have to tackle. And to how to do that effectively requires an accurate and deep analysis of what causes us to go over the line sometime, and on both sides, both in protecting against it and excesses of civil disobedience. So I would just leave it at that. Look forward to deeper, more thoughtful analysis on some of the underlying causes. And again, appreciate all your work.
Very good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for a good discussion. We're adjourned.